Messy bun. So today we're making a super comforting comfort food at its finest. It is a staple in my household here. It's red beans and rice. My father-in-law is from New Orleans and he can certify that this recipe is legit. Promise you. It's super easy, it's affordable, it's delicious, and it's gonna be one of those like stick to your ribs, gonna make you feel full and feed your soul, and you know, all the lovely things that we like to do around here. The first thing we're going to talk about is the Holy Trinity. Ooh. No? Okay. Which consists of bell pepper, onion, and celery. The Holy Trinity is a must-have in this dish. It really starts off building the flavor for this red beans and rice. The Holy Trinity is called the Holy Trinity from Louisiana. Like anyone from Louisiana, if you say the Holy Trinity, they're gonna know what you're talking about. And then of course, it's little cousin garlic, because garlic is amazing and brings so much flavor and deliciousness to any meal. So we're gonna also be using that. And if you watched my last vlog, I talked about having to use jarred garlic, and thank God I have fresh garlic and it smells amazing already. Just the chopped flavors of this, smells of it. Smells good. All my recipes I talk about, you know, the versatility of them. You can add and change things. Totally cool. But for this recipe, you have to have the Holy Trinity, these three guys here. Okay. So I have a large pan and I have a couple of tablespoons of olive oil in it. Gonna let that get warmed up, and then we're gonna kind of like start sauteing this and searing it off. Not searing it, sauteing it. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll let that go for a few minutes and then we will talk about what we'll be doing next. Okay, so large pan, olive oil. I'm gonna go ahead and add the veggies here. For red beans and rice, typically I'll say typically, the meat portion that's used in it is gonna be a ham hock, something along those lines. I'm fairly confident that andouille sausage is also used from time to time. For me, what I do for this recipe is I use pork chops. I have found that most grocery stores you can get stew meat that is pork that's already, you know, individually cut pieces of pork for you. But I found that that's more work for me. You think, oh, it's already cut. Great, gonna get them one up. But the problem is there's so much fat on them and the pieces are so big that I end up breaking it down anyways. So I have found that using pork chops that are boneless and thin is the best way to go. So for this, it's about a pound. It was 4 chops that I removed the fat on because there's always a little bit of it. For this, I don't want it. And then I just chopped it, you know, fairly small. And so that way it's gonna cook quickly, because this recipe, like I said, is gonna be super fast and super easy and something that you can get on your table in like 30 minutes. So the vegetables, the Holy Trinity, has been cooking for about 2 minutes. It smells amazing in here. It's amazing what a little bit of aromatics does to your like senses, you know, kind of goes nuts. Okay, so to that I'm gonna add my pork. Throw that in there. For the seasoning, it's super simple. So we're gonna do 1 dried bay leaf, which if you've ever smelled a bay leaf, it smells almost like tea, which is interesting. It brings a whole depth of flavor. I found that the dried bay leaf works best. The fresh bay leaf is just a little too overpowering for me. So do that. Then I'm going to do a teaspoon of dried oregano, 2 teaspoons of paprika, which seems like a lot, but I promise it's not. And then some pepper, and of course salt. All right. So the goal for this is just to kind of get the pork to start browning. We don't need to cook all the way through because we're going to be letting this simmer for about 20 minutes, which will make sure that it does cook all the way through. And because the pieces are so small, definitely will not be an issue with making sure it's done. So the meat's been in there for about 3 minutes and it's ready to go already. We're ready for our next step. Because it is so small, it really is gonna cook up super quick. And it looks and smells freaking delicious. Okay, so red beans would not be red beans and rice without red beans. I have 2 cans, I think they're about 15 ounces each, of red beans that I drained and rinsed in a strainer colander to get all of that juice that it comes in out. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that. Kind of give that a little stir around. Because beans, you know, when they're canned, they're preserved, so they have some salt in them. And we're also going to be using chicken stock that has salt. I only did a little bit of salt to start the cooking process. At the end, like always, is very important. You want to make sure you taste for your salt and pepper. I don't want to go too crazy because you can't take it back, but you can always add to it. So just a heads up. Start little, go from there. Okay, so to that we're gonna add 2 cups of chicken stock. I'm using stock and not broth because you can see how like thick it is and the color is really intense, where broth is on the lighter side. This is gonna make it seem like this red beans and rice has been cooking, you know, all day. And it's not any more expensive than chicken broth would be. And just adds another depth of flavor. Okay, so I'm going to turn that on high because I'm going to bring it to a boil and we're going to reduce it to simmer and let it go for 20 minutes. So while that's happening, we can talk about our rice. So rice, I have a really good tip for you guys on making sure that you get really perfect rice every time. So for rice, it's always 2-to-1 ratio, right? So we're going to do, for my family, this is going to give us some leftovers, which is a good point. Like, when I'm cooking, the recipes that I generate are always going to be the amount that's going to be for my family of 4. So keep that in mind. A lot of times, like this recipe, we're going to have leftovers, which is great because this is one of James's favorite meals. So you can have some for lunch for the week. So yeah, so I'm going to do 2 cups of rice so that we have leftovers. So to the rice, I added some water. And what I'm doing to it is I am getting the starch out. The water, it looks like milk, right? That's all the starch releasing. And doing this extra little step makes you have really fluffy, freaking delicious rice, which is what you're looking for. So I'm gonna just kind of strain this out really quickly. Okay, so 4 cups of water into my pan with my rice, and then I just add a little bit of salt to it. You can add butter if you want to it too, but I don't think it's necessary. Okay. Kind of give that a little mix. And then we're gonna bring the rice to a boil and then put a lid on it, turn it to simmer, let it go for 10 minutes. And here's my second tip. The last 10 minutes, we're gonna take it off, set it over here and leave the lid on and let it finish cooking. And it's gonna give you perfect rice every time, I swear. Okay, so this is come up to a boil. So I'm going to reduce it and add my lid and let that guy go for 20 minutes, which is about the same time the rice takes, so you really can't go wrong. Making sure it's all done at the same time. Okay, so the rice is up. I'm gonna turn that to low, also put a lid on that guy, in 10 minutes. And then we'll take it off. So I'm going to put our bread in the oven and get that going, and we'll be back in a minute. Our rice has been done cooking on the stove for some time now. It's had its 10 minutes to rest on the counter as well. Our bread that I baked smells so good, it's nice and hot. So this looks and smells delicious. I'm gonna give it a kind of stir here. Important thing, make sure you take out the bay leaf, because I promise you nobody's gonna want to take a bite into that. It's gonna be super like bitter and people are gonna be mad at you. So make sure you find that guy and take it out. So the next step that we're gonna do is gonna use my potato smasher guy and kind of get in here and smash this up. which takes a few minutes, but it's an important step because it's gonna break down the pork into really, you know, nice little pieces so you don't just get a hunk of pork. You're letting like every ingredient shine through. But also it's going to take the juice, the stock that we used, and turn it into like a stewy kind of texture, which is what we're looking for. Perfect all the way around. Okay, so an important step when you're making rice is to fluff it. So, take that off. Oh my gosh, it's perfect, guys. I'm telling you, I don't lie to you guys. Make this. Every time you're gonna have perfect rice. You do it that way. See it? Okay. Okay. See how it's even thickened up more? Let that go off. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take some of our red beans here. That's plenty. Scoop of our rice. And just to make it pretty, a couple of chips, green onions. What do you think? Ta-da! Red beans and rice. Smells amazing. Pretty good, right? So excited. Ooh, and then we'll get some of our bread. Huge ass knife, no big deal. Some butter. Yum! Nom noms for us, David. Schitt's Creek, it's a great show. If you haven't watched it, you got it. So good. So our red beans and rice that we made started with the Trinity, right? It was a green bell pepper, which you can still see, you know, pretty little flakes of. The green bell pepper, the onion, the celery, then we added our garlic and our pork and our beans, and we made rice, and this whole thing is just gonna come together. It's gonna hit all of the notes. It's gonna be so delicious. There is so much flavor going on in this. It's so easy to make. You guys have to try this. Cannot wait to dig into this guy. It's gonna be so good. Oh my god. Mmm. Really only took a couple of ingredients, which is inexpensive. 30 minutes and it's done. And this is a perfect messy bite. It's so good. Mmm. Get our little nugget of bread. This is killer. You guys have to try this recipe. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Your family will not be disappointed. Mmm, so good. Thank you so much for being here, for hanging out, for being patient with us as we've kind of had to acclimate ourselves back to things. And it just means so much to James and I both for you guys to be here, for all your support. You have to try this red beans and rice recipe. It's legit. Promise you, my father-in-law's from New Orleans. He says hands down it's one of the best he's had. Not lying. Ask James. He said that before. Everything about this is so comforting and so homey. It's so delicious, and it makes me so happy to be able to bring this recipe to you guys, and I really hope that you try it out. You know, with everything that's going on right now in the world, it is really important to, you know, get in the kitchen, give yourself an outlet to kind of focus some of that stress and anxiety that people are going through. Get your families involved. It really is fun. So fun. And I hope you try it out. And again, this recipe, like always, will be in the link, the description for, I always mess it up now. You'll be able to get to my blog. The link, description. Find this recipe where you can make this amazing, super amazing, yummy, delicious red beans and rice Thank you guys again for being here. Please, like, comment, subscribe, share all my stuff on Facebook. It would really mean a lot to me on Instagram too. At This Messy Bun Blog would mean the world. Thank you guys so much for being here, and make sure you stay tuned for the wine pairing for this freaking delicious red beans and rice. Thanks guys. Stay messy. So good. I'm just gonna keep eating. Mercer Brothers Cabernet 2017. When I think of Louisiana or New Orleans, I think of fun, vibrant flavor. That's exactly what Mercer Brothers Cabernet delivers. This full-bodied wine lends a soft and velvety tannins, with its notes of cherry, vanilla, warm spice, and ripe fruit finish. This vibrant wine complements red beans and rice perfectly. Mercer Brothers wines include some of Washington's oldest Cabernet vines, dating to 1972. Their Cabernet is appealing to wine drinkers and wine critics alike. I certainly recommend a glass. You can find this wine in most marketplaces, as well as online on sites such as wine.com. Please use my link when ordering. Thank you.